Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I congratulate the Honourable Lady, Member for Rutland and Melton, and the Honourable Gentleman for Beckenham on securing this important debate. And I genuinely consider it an honour and pleasure to be speaking on behalf of my party. And before we had decided I would be speaking on behalf of the party, I'd actually asked already to speak in the debate, having visited Taiwan as part of an international youth culture and study tour back in 2013. Believe it or not, I still qualified under the term of youth at that stage, along with my honourable friend, the member for Lanark and Hamilton East. We had a wonderful 2-week official visit, and then a number of us stayed on for a number of days after that to further experience the culture and landscapes in Taiwan and across Taipei, Taichung and Tainan. So there is a really wonderful opportunity to be able to take part in this debate today. I think it's important to begin with the principle that's probably one of the most important aspects in this debate of democracy and the whole principle of self-determination. Hugh McDermott once wrote of Robert Burns that mere nonsense has been written in his name than an honest barring liberty in Christ. The same, in some senses, could be said about self-determination. So, lest it become a buzzword, let's remind ourselves exactly what it means. It's a group of people's right to determine how and by whom they wish to be governed. What it means in practice is that we stand with Ukraine against Russian aggression, and we stand for self-determination. And the UK reminds Argentina of its sovereignty of the Falkland Islands. We're standing for self-determination. And when the Scottish Government asserts that Scots deserve the right to have a say in our future by voting for a pro-independence government, as they did just last year, we are asserting our right to self-determination. You don't get to pick and choose who's allowed self-determination. The whole principle of it is you accept when the people choose what they want to take as their course of future. So if you accept Ukraine has it, and if you accept the Falklands have it, Scotland has it, then so does Taiwan. No ifs and no buts.
I agree entirely with his views about self-determination, but would he accept that both the Falkland Islands and Scotland have had referendums in recent years, but the people of Taiwan have never had a referendum, and maybe they should, and then if they had a referendum, they could determine their own destiny?
I think where I would agree is if the people of Taiwan wanted to have that, and that is entirely a matter for the people of Taiwan, then absolutely I would be 100% behind that. I don't think you would be astonished to find any disagreement on that from this side of the House. However, self-determination isn't a one-time event. It isn't just a one vote, that's the end of it. It is an ongoing process. And that's why in the SNP's view it's important to an important consideration in determining how Taiwan is governed, that it's what the people of Taiwan want and how they express those desires through the ballot box. Viewers in Scotland will already be well acquainted with the double standards of the UK government when it comes to Scottish self-determination, but it also falls short in honouring that important principle at times when it comes to Taiwan. The UK doesn't recognise Taiwan enough, and I mean, there is no formal diplomatic relations with the island, as we've heard from others, and I think this is something that could be looked at very simply to correct.
Would the honourable gentleman give way? I mean, I think it's been deeply heartening to hear so many Conservatives throughout this debate champion the idea of self-determination. But given that there's no international court of arbitration to determine self-determination for countries like Tibet, is it always not more important for countries like the UK to stand up and for their governments not to be cowardly but to be outspoken in supporting these peoples?
I absolutely agree with my honourable friend. I think it's absolutely critical that the UK government lead by example, and if we are going to say that we support the right of people to choose, then we need to be demonstrating that we support the right of people to choose. An SNP-led independent Scotland would support a Taiwanese accession to multilateral organisations such as the WHO in recognising Taiwanese wishes to be active and cooperative global player. Now, our friendship runs deep, and it's beyond the principles of democracy and how we practice it. We've already heard from many of the huge democratic reforms that have taken place in Taiwan from the 80s through to current day, and the major progress to see them now highlighted as a star performer and the #1 democracy in Asia. However, Taiwan's deepening democracy chimes with the Scottish Government's agenda, and both Scotland and Taiwan seeking to broaden and deepen democratic participation. There is a lot we can learn from each other, such as Taiwan's world-leading efforts to leverage technology and citizen participation into a system of digital democracy, recently credited as containing COVID in Taiwan. Speaking of COVID, obviously we've heard of Taiwan's handling of the pandemic and how exemplary that's been, despite only having observer status rather than full membership of the WHO. And when it comes to technology, it can't be overstated how important Taiwanese technological sector is for Scotland and the UK semiconductor chips, a resource now essential in all of our online lifestyles and overwhelmingly made in Taiwan, so trade-linked security is vital. The Scottish Government recognising this and having opened the virtual Scottish Development International Office in Taipei. Scotland has a very positive story to tell when it comes to trade with Taiwan, and there are many areas for potential growth with full trading powers post-independence. To name a few sectors of huge potential of trade and cooperation, you just need to look no further than the UK's own list of market access ambitions following the 24th annual UK-Taiwan trade talks: energy, offshore wind power, financial services, agriculture, whisky. These are all Scottish specialties. And as a fan of a malt myself, I can't help but mention the whisky. I can't help but avoid mentioning that Taiwan is the world's 4th largest market for whisky by value. And I have to say, I do particularly enjoy the Taiwanese whisky. It's a very distinct taste to it. There's a certain sweetness that's not there in some of the single malts that you get from up the road. So, according to the Scottish Whisky Association, Taiwan was the 4th largest export destination for Scottish whisky by 2020, at value by 2020. So, slange to that. Yeah. Trade opportunities are, of course, supplemented by academic collaboration between 7,000 and 8,000 Taiwanese students studying in the UK each year. Taiwan's aim to become a fully bilingual society of English and Mandarin makes collaboration even easier. Now, the Scoto-Taiwanese parallels and shared ambitions also extend to our climate priorities. The Taiwanese government is committed to achieving net zero by 2050, with a target of 25% renewable energy by 2025. The British office Taipei have promoted UK offshore wind companies, many in Scotland, to Taiwanese partners. And there's also scope for climate cooperation with the Scottish Government's ScotWind strategy. Scottish Development International is exploring the possibilities of a strategic partnership with Taiwan, which would allow our renewable energy supply chain companies to access the Taiwanese market much easier. But amongst all of this, Madam Deputy Speaker, we can't avoid the elephant in the room, and China's current denial of the Taiwanese right to self-determination and insistence that it's merely a stray province of the PRC is a major concern. All of this puts Taiwan's future at risk, and we have a moral obligation in this place to stand against it, as we do to protect the self-determination of all peoples and nations. These principal moves and sets an example to Scotland that small states can punch well above their weight, and an increasingly global smaller doesn't have to mean weaker. We have concerns that the government's integrated review doesn't make any mention of Taiwan, and I do hope that the Minister in answering can perhaps reflect on that, and the government could correct that omission by reflecting the importance of Taiwan in its China strategy. So in conclusion, Madam Deputy Speaker, it is perplexing that Taiwan's not afforded due consideration in the government's most recent foreign policy document. I sincerely hope that concern will be considered seriously and acted on. And, Madam Deputy Speaker, when I look back at my time in Taiwan and the friends I made from South Africa, Norway, Sweden, St Kitts and Bermuda and all around the globe, we had a wonderful time exchanging ideas and thoughts with each other. So these will always be friendships. And to the people of Taiwan, I would simply say, Yong Yun De Pang Yo.
Oh, well done.
Yes. Catherine West.
Yeah. Well, 谢谢